Now, the survivors of yesterday's blaze in the Joburg CBD are reluctant, as you saw there in our headlines, to leave the site. They say they fear being deported back to their home country should they be placed in shelters. Meanwhile, the death toll has now risen to 76 after 2 more victims died in hospital. eNCA reporters Aviwe, Mtila and Moloto are out in the field covering the various arms of the story with us. And let's go to Soweto first, where we find Moloto. And you've just finished a briefing with the health minister a short while ago. Moloko, bring us up to speed with that. 62 of those bodies have been burnt beyond recognition. The minister appealing to people to help them bring closure to this by coming forward. He says, from what I remember, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, 29 people have come forward. They're South Africans, Malawians, Zimbabweans and Tanzanians, but only 8 have been positively identified, 8 of those being Malawians from the Muslim community. He said something about Sunday. Is that when the DNA tests are expected to be done or when the post-mortems are expected to be done?
Good afternoon, Marcel Gordon. Well, this was a second briefing by the Minister of Health, Dr. Joe Phatla, along with the MEC of Health in Gauteng, Nomantu Nkomo Ralehoko. The first one happened a short while ago at the Rahima Musa Hospital, Helen Joseph, I beg pardon, hospital in Johannesburg, when he announced that the death toll has increased from 74 to 76 now, the other 2 having died in hospital. Now, a short while ago, the 2 briefed the media here at the Forensic Pathology Services Center in Deep Groove, Soweto, after spending an hour and a half or so inside this particular building. And he told us, the Minister of Health, that of the 12 who are recognizable, meaning that the injuries that they sustained doesn't really prevent people to identify who they are. Out of the 12, only I think 8 have been identified positively by their loved ones, and all of those are from Malawi. Of course, the expectation is that the families of the other 4 will also come to the fore to identify them as well, those whose faces can be recognized. The remainder, 62 of those, burned beyond recognition, unfortunately, and he is saying that to identify them, it would take a DNA process. A post-mortem is being conducted on all the bodies of the deceased, and he's saying that that is a process that will really not take long. The dilemma and the difficulty is the process of having to link the result of the DNA tests that are being conducted on the deceased with whomever would be coming forth to claim the bodies of the deceased. That is a conundrum that they will really have to navigate very delicately. He is even suggesting that it would not be helpful if an uncle, a distant relative who would come and say, "This is my cousin, I really want to claim," especially when it comes to DNA tests, saying that it would require a very close relative like a father or a mother. Now, this is a process that they are saying that they will be doing continuously. By Sunday, they hope that they would be done on this side of having to deal with the deceased. Importantly, Marcel, because there's a fear here, since it appears some of the people here who either perished in that blaze or inferno, or those who survived, it would appear among them there are people who are in the country illegally. And there's this fear of even coming forth, either to this center or even to hospital or even to the shelters, because they fear possible arrest and deportation. And the authorities, we heard the Minister of Social Development, Lindiwe Zulu, saying that, "Come forth, you're not going to be arrested." That message was reiterated here by the Minister of Health, Dr. Joe Phatla, that come over, you will not be arrested. Importantly also, I must say that Minister Joe Phatla has indicated that in hospital, there's about 33 who are still under the care of the nurses and the doctors, health professionals in general, and of those 2 are children who are at the Charlotte Maxeke Hospital, and the other 2 are still under the in the ICU unit. Marcel.
Okay, Moloko Moloto with the latest there from Soweto, outside the Forensic Pathology Centre in Diepkloof. Let's go straight to the CBD now, where Aviwe Mtila is standing by for us. And Aviwe, in the midst of a very painful interaction between the Minister of Social Development, Lindiwe Zulu, and women, mothers from Malawi, who just did not feel that they could leave that site safely.
Certainly, Maseko, I beg your pardon, myself, and the Minister of Social Development being able to convince at least 3 women to go to those shelters. They're now just waiting to be taken, but there's still dozens of people, of course, in the streets of Marshalltown that are blatantly refusing to go to the shelter. You heard the promise there from the Minister that they won't be isolated, they won't be deported as yet, as of course the key concern now is just getting them shelter, getting them food and just warmth at this stage. It was those conversations that were ongoing and the Minister has now left, and we do understand that it's those 3 women that will be taken. But I am joined by some people from Malawi who are now trying to convince their countrymen on the ground here. They are in South Africa, we understand, legally. What are they saying is behind not wanting to go, since you had a conversation with them just now?
I understand that there's one of the brothers who are there. They're saying the condition of that shelter is not okay. So it's better for them to stay here rather than to go to the place where the condition is not all right. So I tried to convince them that maybe if you can only get a help when you go to the shelter, but they refused. They're saying they can't go there because they've already heard that the condition is not all right.
Okay, the concern now would be, where will they sleep then tonight? Will you maybe be providing accommodation for them to sleep, given that they don't want to go to the shelter?
Yeah, we are here, like me, I'm here to bring for them help. So, it's like now we are confused because some of them, they said they want to remain here, while some of them, they want to go to shelter. So now it's like we are confused. Which party we can take.
So, and have they given that indication on what they're going to do? Are they going to sleep on the streets? What's going to happen? Are you going to be helping them?
They're only asking for a blanket. Once they can get a blanket, they can say they can make a plan where to sleep. So the only problem with them is a blanket. We are here to help them, maybe like to give them the blanket or maybe the accommodation. But them, they're saying once they get a blanket, they can see what to do.
Okay, Marcel, it's those dozens that are refusing, and some of them, in fact, my colleague Tebogo Masilo is going to show you. And concerning Marcel, I beg your pardon, is the children that are still in the street. I mean, this girl not even wearing shoes. You just wonder and worry about their safety. Ma'am, let me bring you in. You are from Kopanang, Africa, which does help people of foreign countries. What's going to happen to the women and children that we're seeing on the ground here?
Well, to be honest with you, I've tried to speak to the ladies, and they've taken my phone number just to make sure that I'll be in communication with them, because even me, I don't even know where they're going to. I would like to see where they're going to, because as a woman, I would like to see their child have a safe place to live and food to eat, because that's my great concern. We've just finished off with Women's Month, and this is a big concern for me. As a humanitarian, that is a pertinent issue, and we need to not overlook that, because these are women and children, and we're talking about Women's Month, and these are mothers, and we want to see them to be safe.
And what's concerning is the Social Development Minister was here speaking to the women with children. 3 of them have agreed to go to the shelter, yet we still see these women and children on the streets. Why are they saying that they don't want to go to the shelter after the minister spoke to them?
There's a mother and a child that actually, the child went to school today. Can you believe it? A little 7-year-old went to school today. Imagine what she's been through, the trauma. The mother took her to school. Can you believe it? They want to see a better life for their children. And I mean, that takes a real real courage for a woman to do something like that. All she's concerned is her child's education and to make sure that the child's going to school. She's not worried. She walked with the child from, I think, wherever they were. I think it's where they sat last night, just to make sure that the child is at school. As you can see, people are not, they're human beings. And we should look at what the situation that they are going under. I mean, I'm a mother. I feel for them. And really, when I look at that little child, my heart pains. I just wish that we know where they're going to and are they going to be safe. That is my main important. But that little child, she's a future.
And it's certainly concerning. Marcel, it's just heartbreaking. Really heartbreaking, even aside from the child that you can see there being able to walk. There's even a toddler. There's a little baby that is still in blankets, can't walk, but the mother apparently refusing to go to the shelter. We don't know at this stage what is going to happen to them, as they're part of those that won't be going to the shelter after even a plea from the Social Development Minister, Lindiwe Zulu, who promised that no one will be deported, because that's one of the concerns, that once they arrive at these shelters, they're afraid that they will be deported. And the other pleas that can they be let inside the building that was up in flames, as they at least want their belongings there. But that certainty given by Lindiwe Zulu that it won't be possible. Even police aren't allowed. It's the engineers that will give the go-ahead of when eventually that process would be allowed, if it will be. But we do understand that at the stage, the promise is that the belongings that are inside there will be kept safe by the police, and the plea from the minister is that they go to these shelters. But as you can still see, they just meters away from that building in the streets around Marshalltown, saying that they're not going to go to the shelters that have been provided by government.
We're going to leave it there. Aviwe, Mtila, difficult conversation there from the area where that building was raised, or where that fire took place in the early hours of Thursday morning. Thank you so much for that update, along with our colleague Moloko in Soweto.